Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you may be joining us. Welcome to Marvel Movie Talk right here on the Blackcast YouTube network. As always, I am Christian Bladt, joined today by the one and only Mr. Jeff Williams Jr.
Yes, how's it going? Great to be here. Great to talk Eternals.
Yes. So this is our Eternals first reaction special. We wanted to give everybody a chance to see the movie, but if you have not seen the movie, we are going to talk about all the spoilers, starting probably about 1 minute from right now. I don't think we're going to blurt out all the spoilers in the first instant, but at any point, the spoiler-free cone of silence is lifted, and we're just going to talk about what we thought about the movie and any of the spoilers in there, and including a spoiler that we had ruined for us on this very show. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about everything. But Jeff, let's start big picture. Overall thoughts heading into the movie, what you thought it might be, and what you thought of the movie itself as you were watching it.
Big picture, when I walking into the movie, I had no like let me take that back. I had some expectations. I thought it was going to be visually stunning. I thought it was going to be a great film, but I didn't come in there thinking that I was going to be blown away in that sense. Like, I had expectations because I knew the director was great. I had expectations because it was a Marvel film, but in the sense that I knew nothing about Eternals, so I kind of came in there fresh in that sense, and it was good. I've been in so many Marvel films nowadays that I know so many things about the film, so many things about the storyline, and coming into this story kind of fresh, kind of new, kind of green in a sense was fun to me. And forget everything the critics are saying, I really enjoyed this episode. Or this, I said this episode. I really enjoyed this movie.
Well, you're visiting from the future, and in your mind, we've already recorded this episode, and you know that you've enjoyed this episode, and I have also enjoyed this episode too. But yeah, look, I have said ever since they announced they were making an Eternals movie, I have learned at this point that I will always give Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios the benefit of the doubt. Even something where I'm like, oh, I don't know how that's going to go. I'm going to wait and see. I actually I didn't know if Thor was going to work. I was wondering if Captain America was going to work. Is he too outdated? And I was wrong in many times over on those. And look, Shang-Chi, I didn't know what to make of that. The Guardians of the Galaxy, none of those characters were a Guardians of the Galaxy team that I was familiar with. I used to read a Guardians of the Galaxy series in the early 90s. Yondu was on the Guardians of the Galaxy, but none of those characters from the movie. I knew Rocket Raccoon from his own standalone series. But yeah, so, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is really the one that you point at. We're like, look, if they made that work, I think they can make anything work. And they didn't just make it work. I mean, it was great. So I was a little, slightly apprehensive just because of these characters, the little bit that I know of them. And I think that the movie was great. I really enjoyed it. I think that it is different. One of the biggest criticisms of people who even maybe liked it is that the movie is a little dense. And I think that saying that the movie is a little dense probably betrays the fact that we as a society have gotten more dense, because you have to pay attention. But when you're in the movie theater and in the dark, you should be paying attention anyway. You know, if you're streaming something, yeah, I get it. You're on your phone. Maybe, you're just looking at something and who knows what's going on. Maybe you're cleaning, maybe you're making dinner. But if you're at the movie theater, you should be able to pay attention. But I do understand that there's a lot. This is a particularly deep story with a huge backstory for these characters. There's 7,000 years of backstory that we know of as the movie starts. It turns out there's actually even more backstory than that, as we find out as we go along. But the simple fact is that there's a lot to digest. And I've been telling people it's the Dune of superhero movies. You can't not pay attention to Dune. You have to really pay attention to what's going on in that movie. Now, maybe if you pay attention, you might not like it. Maybe it's not for everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But you definitely have to pay attention if you're going to have a chance of enjoying Dune. And I feel like if you're going to have a chance of really enjoying Eternals and really appreciating it, I think it's just that simple that you need to pay attention. But when the movie starts, and before we even get the Marvel Studios, the little title card, the fact that this movie starts with like a Star Wars like crawl of like, well, let's tell you about these people that have been around for 7,000 years. I'm like, oh, okay, they're just diving right in. And man, there's a lot of exposition and a lot of explanation, but in the way where there's so many characters. There's 10 of them. In my mind, when I was talking about this on our previous episode, I thought there were 7. And then you can look at the poster that we have for our viewers on YouTube right now. There's 10 of them, and
Mm-hmm.
they're actually, they had 12 of them in the, I guess, earliest draft of the script, and they realized there's just too many. I mean, 10 is too many, but I think that
Yeah.
they do a good job. They're all so different, and I think that maybe the biggest surprise, Jeff, let me know if you think this, are the allotment of screen time for some of these different characters. Were you surprised at how little Angelina Jolie we got, and specifically that not only did we not get that much Salma Hayek, but I mean, she, again, all the spoilers, we're doing the eternal spoilers right now. I've now said it, so you should know that I've said that these are all the spoilers. But Salma Hayek dies so early in the movie. I'm like, wait, what? She's the biggest one on the poster. So were you
See,
surprised at the allotment of screen time for these different characters?
yeah, yes and no. I mean, how much really is Salma Hayek gonna do in a superhero film without it being too much CGI? But if you think about it, she kept coming up in the movie throughout all these prior scenes and stuff. So like she was in the movie a decent amount of times, but she did die in the film early, if that made sense. Because like early, we saw the Icarus and Salma Hayek scene um later in the film, but she had already passed away. So like there was instances where we saw her, but for Angelina Jolie, I kind of suspected that she's a huge name. She kind of plays, not like plays her role, but like I mean it wasn't it was a little bit more than a cameo. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't expect her to be the main character because she just doesn't seem like she would want that role in Marvel. I feel like she played more of like the Gamora, but almost like I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't surprised. I think she's like just like a specialty, if that makes any sense. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna use we love having you, but like you're not gonna be our A person. Also, she doesn't want that as well. That's how I saw it. And I would be surprised if Angelina Jolie wanted like the leading role in a Marvel movie, just because of how much time consuming that would be.
Right. I mean, she wouldn't want to be like Black Widow, I mean, she
Yeah,
wouldn't want to be the
exactly.
lead in a movie. And I think that one of these ensemble projects, it does make sense for her. And yes, it makes sense for Salma Hayek. I think specifically just how much this is really Gemma Chan's movie. I was
Mm-hmm.
not expecting that. And I think that, I think that she's great in it. Honestly, I think everybody's great in it, but I think that it's really a great opportunity for her to shine. And I think it's good that they didn't feel like by her being in Captain Marvel, even though she's not really in it that much, but it's enough. She's on screen. I mean, she doesn't look exactly like her, but she was in it enough where I could understand. They're just like, well, we can't use her again. We already used her.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's great that she got this opportunity. And, it really is her story because of how important she becomes after Salma Hayek dies.
Yeah, 100%. It was great to see like the whole cast on there and to see how well they divided up the time because unlike Dune where it was two characters and a lot of supporting cast, this movie actually felt like a team movie. Like everybody seemed to have a storyline, understanding why they did what they did, who's their backstory, who's their family, where they were during those 7,000 years of being in isolation or in hiding or whatever. So it was kind of going back to like some of the other things you talked about. It was great story building, even though it was so dense. This can be the Dune of Marvel, but like it was still handed to us in a like it was handed to us as the audience members. This is what's happening. These are who these people are. Here's the storylines. In Dune, you had to be sitting there. You had to know the backstory. You kind of had to hear it. Marvel did a great job at spoon feeding it for us. And another thing is that Angelina Jolie mentioned this, and it might be a reason why she chose this more than like the Captain Marvels or the Black Widows or something. This story and this project actually encompasses more real life in the fact that like these families are blended. And then if you know anything about Angelina Jolie, her family is very blended. So
Sure,
like
yeah.
she said that on multiple red carpets that like this represents stuff that I see in my own house. So it's like it might have been like this project meant something for her as to why she took that role in this movie specifically.
Yeah, no, I think that it probably was appealing to her in that way. And, in terms of it still being a superhero movie, it's just sort of, it's from a different mold. I mean, honestly, I feel like this is what Zack Snyder always tries to do, but gets a little bit too in the weeds. I think that he's got too many yes people around him. But I think I think Chloe Zhao did a tremendous job with a very complicated movie. And speaking of complicated, joining us now is our friend Alana Jordan, who went to the movie with us. We all saw it together at the very fancy early press screening. Elena, how are you today?
I'm good. My internet was being a little complicated, but got it up and
Well,
working now. So
these are complicated times.
Mm-hmm.
We're really just kind of still talking sort of big picture about the movie, what we thought, and maybe what your expectations were going into it. So just sort of the same things that we're saying, Elena. What was your expectations going in, and what did you think as you were watching this story unfold?
the crazy thing to me was that it had such divisive opinions
Oh
from
boy. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll get into some of that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So when I was going into it, I really didn't know what to expect because I was like, okay, well, I've heard, it's really dense. There's, a lot like it's, sometimes convoluted. I didn't think any of that. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, this is just perfection. Like I thought the character, I mean, you have that many characters and they still find a way for us to care about every single one of them. And it doesn't go full into their backstory, but enough that it just really draws you in. And I was not expecting Gemma Chan to be like the friggin' star of this movie. And I was like, yes, Gemma Chan. She was killing it.
Yeah,
It was
that's
so
what I was
good.
that's what I was saying is that I wasn't expecting it. Look, we all knew that Shang-Chi was the first Asian-led movie in the MCU, and then what we didn't realize was just a few months later we were going to get the second one. Obviously it's a huge ensemble, but it really is her movie.
It's
It's her
her movie.
story. And I like I said, I was not expecting that. And I think she gets some great stuff to do. What were you going to say, Jeff?
Did you get some? Well, I'm gonna just say I got some X-Men kind of vibes when they first showed her and Kit Harington in the classroom, and they were just I mean it could easily be them being superheroes in the classroom giving me X-Men vibes, but like it was something that I was hopeful for of like what Marvel could be like or MCU could be like in the X-Men world, just in the sense of like kind of more down to earth superhero type of feel, and is more grounded. It just seemed more grounded and not as popcorny as a Marvel film, and that's what I expect the X-Men would be.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, by being set in a school where things start to go wrong, and the after-school activities degenerating into fighting deviants. Yeah, I didn't really think of it at the time, but you're right. There is kind of like an X-Men vibe to it.
I thought it was crazy though that Kit Harington has his own Funko Pop for this movie, and he's in it for like a minute. Like I was like, what?
Well, he shows up a few times.
That's because people love Kit Harington.
Ends it, and that's it.
Yeah, he's definitely the bookends of the movie.
Yes, and I love that every big production he's in apparently has to have a character named Cersei.
Yes, it's true. He only signs on to Cersei-led productions. So if you want him, you might have to rename.
Is there a Cersei? Yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps one day the goal is that he gets to play a Cersei at some point. That's the only way to get him.
I think Cersei about that.
I love that. So it's the interesting thing is that because there are so many Eternals, there are not a lot of supporting characters. Dane Whitman being one of them. So yeah, there's just not room for like anyone else. But I want to talk about sort of the another big standout. And again, I have said this before that I think Kamal Nanjiani was on screen for 5 seconds, and I'm like, oh, this is why they hired him. It was like so obvious. I know that Jeff, you've posted a little bit about your thoughts on Kamal Nanjiani, so let's talk about him and his role in the movie.
So if anybody knows me, I love watching interviews. I love like seeing behind the scenes and whatever featurettes they do before films. So hearing that he was going to be in this film, you kind of get the sense that, oh, he's going to bring some comedy to the film, which is great. But like, how does that really fit in? And you start to see him getting more fit in real life. So like, you start to see him getting ready for this film and everything. And I saw this interview about him preparing about it. And he said he goes like this throughout the film, like pew, 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 pew. And he does. And like, before I watched the film, I'm like, this is going to be weird. Literally, it was cool. It was funny to me. Like his whole performance was great. Multiple times I laughed out loud, and like, it was a great time. And he brought so much comedy to a very grounded and very serious and very dense film for the MCU. So I loved his addition to the film.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of the larger than life, over the top, Bollywood character was perfect for him. And it's interesting too, because it's like, oh, did he really have to get so jacked for this movie? I don't think so. But he realized like, this is my opportunity to do it. And
if Marvel's paying for it, man. Like, send me a nutritionalist and a coach. Like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I gotta get on that Hugh Jackman diet because
he's like Star-Lord, man. I saw Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec, and I saw what they did. Like, I would get that for free if I could.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it is really, it is impressive, that transformation, but he's still him. I mean, he's still Kamal Nanjiani. I mean, he does a great job as Kingo, but I think that it, he brings the presence that he wants. It's like Awkwafina in Shang-Chi. You don't want her to be something different than Awkwafina. Otherwise, why did you hire her? So if you're going to bring him into your movie, he's going to do that, and I think, what's that?
I mean, sorry to like somewhat disagree. Awkwafina was the comedic relief.
Yeah,
I feel I mean, okay,
but it's the same thing though. It's like, well, why would you
type?
Why would you hire Kamal Nanjiani? He's the lead, but why would you hire him for this movie if you didn't want him to bring the comedy that he's well known for providing on Silicon Valley and elsewhere, obviously? But I mean, and he's shown that
Portlandia,
he's a great actor. Yeah, and he was great. I mean, his film, The Big Sick, was actually a great movie. So I think that it's great to see, and I just want to sort of go over. There's also, I think, a great standout in this movie is Brian Tyree Henry as Phastos.
Before we leave Kamal, can I just say one thing about him one more time?
Sure, please do.
He didn't say anything for like the first few minutes he was on screen, and just that one eyebrow raise, like I was like, I'm all in like 2 seconds. So I was like, that's somebody who knows, like, this is how you do comedy. This is how you do physical comedy without, and then, oh my God, yeah, he's just fantastic. So I just have to praise him some more. So, okay, now,
No. I mean, it really just like the way that he inhabits the actor side, the actual the celebrity aspect of being Kingo, and just I love the explanation. He's like, no, this is my great grandfather and my grandfather, and all that. And he's like, oh yeah,
his driver, like his
yeah.
relationship, like
Yes.
that, I was like, okay, this is brilliant.
Yeah, he was
Brilliant.
great. Never running out of cameras, I thought was great. So Brian Tyree Henry, who I think mostly people know from Atlanta, of the series Atlanta, not just hanging out in Atlanta. I think that he was another great character, one that we really didn't get to spend time. I mean, we're like well more than an hour in before we really get to know him. I mean, he shows up in some of the flashback stuff, but I thought that he was great. And look, just to see the cast assembled, this is a very diverse cast. And with this
Eternals
character,
assemble.
yeah, and
Sorry.
with this character, they went even further, and you see that he is in a same-sex relationship. They have a kid together, and this is something that apparently is it's great to have this kind of inclusion in your movies, except for people that don't see the movie, find out it's in there, and then they decide they need to review bomb Rotten Tomatoes because they're like, well, that shouldn't be in a superhero movie. It's like, look, if you don't see a movie and you don't like it, people have, it's opinion. People can not like a movie for whatever reason, but to just find out, and it's like, I also think that people kind of conflated a couple of things. We have the sex scene between Cersei and Icarus, and then we also have this gay relationship. So somehow those two facts turned into there's a gay sex scene in this movie, and to which I say, this is still Disney. Did you really think that that's what was going to be in this movie? But anyway, let's just start off and talk about Fastos. Let's talk about Brian Tyree Henry. I'll ask you first, Elena. What did you think about his character and sort of the representation that he provided to the film?
I loved his character because he also had some great, like, little one-liner moments and some comedic relief moments too. Like the plow thing, like that was just hilarious to me.
Oh yeah, that is great.
But I loved that they had that whole dynamic and him basically saying, look, I am all in on Earth. Like, I found the love of my life. I have a child. I'm not doing all this, whatever stuff. Like, we got left here. I'm just going to make the most of it type deal. And I thought that like is such an interesting perspective too, when you have all of these different characters. Like, we have, Gemma Chan, like Cersei kind of finding that with Kit Harington's character. But I just loved everything about this. And the fact too that I'm like, okay, so we can have like naked straight people banging, but we can't have like a loving relationship between two men where they're like, I love you, I care about you, I support you, I'm here for you, let's raise our child. And I'm like, come on. And also, that is not the first sex scene in a Marvel's movie. I'm like, you guys, it opened with that 2008 Iron Man. The MCU kicked off with Tony Stark banging, so I don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, but with Tony Stark, there's not enough emotion in it. This is the first like, loving sex scene. That's just Tony Stark hoeing around, basically.
Yeah,
and by that I mean he's the hoe. But in case there's any confusion to me using that terminology. But I mean, I think that I understand sort of the significant. It's you have this, and it's like a sex scene that you don't need to edit in any way to put on broadcast television. That could be on ABC Family, and I'm sure it will be one day.
Pretty Little Liars, but I'm sure has had worse.
Yeah, right, exactly. So what did you think, Jeff, about the character of Fastos as we get to know him?
Yeah, I really enjoyed his character, and what we were just talking about, how there was another like facet of comedy. I thought he brought a different dimension to that, because like his comedy was not the same as Camille's. Like it was more of like the annoyed, sarcastic,
the deadpan that Camille
the
normally
deadpan, because
plays.
he's so smart, he knows so much, and it's just like, yes, I'm doing this, you should know this kind of thing. So it was a great like addition, and it just separated him. And you guys touched it, like there's people out here that you hear about a LGBT community relationship, and you're like already against it. You don't even know what the storyline's about. You don't know who the people are. You don't know what's going on in the film.
Yeah.
Like,
we're not trying to get you to watch Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Okay. I mean, this is a superhero movie that happens to have a lot of different kinds of characters in it. And, look, over 7,000 years, I think that, people can find out a lot of things about themselves,
And then like the people are going to say, why'd they have to put it in there? Why'd you have to put in any relationship in there? Yeah. That's the same thing. It's just like if your focus is on that, then that is your problem, and you got to move on.
You're what, 25, 26 movies in, and you have 10 main characters in this. I think that just the law of averages are at some point you would start to have gay characters.
We have people making out. I'm sorry. We have people making out with aliens. We have raccoons flying around. We have so many things, but a dude kissing a dude is like, you know what? Yeah. This is what I'm calling it. Time out. Y'all have a great one. Like, what?
What were you gonna say, Elena?
I just hope this is the precursor to Valkyrie, like hardcore making out with some hot chick for like 10 minutes of the movie.
I don't know that anybody's going to disagree with that on this.
It's going to be her, another girl, and the director at the same time during the film. I think Tiki 100% recorded himself making out with her.
Yeah, I think that I think that it's great. We're talking about the different kinds of comedy that are provided by the different characters. So I think it's important to highlight Gilgamesh, who is one of the more mainstream Eternals in that he has been a member of the Avengers. At a period in time that I was reading comics, Gilgamesh was an Avenger around issue 300 or so. And the actor who plays him is billed as Don Lee. And I think he's great. I think that he adds also a different kind of funny. And I think when you have a 2 hour and 40-minute superhero movie, it needs to be a little light. You have to have people that can do comedy. Elena, right as you came in, I was sort of saying that, when you have sort of a next level superhero movie, that it's a little bit more advanced, maybe a little bit more grown up seeming at times. To me, that's always what it seems like Zack Snyder was trying to do. And sometimes he succeeded and sometimes he didn't. And the difference being is that this movie still manages to be fun and funny. So, Elena, what did you think of Gilgamesh? I think that, he's a fun addition to the gang.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like they did such a good job of representing all of the characters just enough to also keep us interested to see more of them as well. So, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to get, a little bit more from each of these characters, but of course, otherwise it will be a Snyder cut and it'll be 20 hours long. So.
Yeah, and again, that's another character that I think leaves us too soon, which is definitely disappointing. But I guess when you have 10 characters, some are going to have to go by the wayside. Jeff, I wanted to talk a little bit about Sprite, who I think provides sort of a really interesting, just a really interesting sort of dichotomy, or an interesting dilemma. Really, is that you are eternal, you're immortal, but you're stuck as a kid. And obviously she develops emotionally and 7,000 years, way more than any of us ever will. And yet she still looks like a kid to everybody. What did you think about that storytelling choice that they made with Sprite, Jeff?
Well, how I feel at the end of it is Sprite can kick rocks. I don't like how they just like let Sprite come back to the team and just be able to, you know what, you can grow up to be an old person. No, I would have treated her the same way we treated Agatha, because she would have been, you wanted to be a kid, you could be a kid. You wanted to be a neighbor, you could be a neighbor. Because look, you backstabbed the Eternals, and you decide to do that. It just seemed too quick of a turnaround for me. Yes, they're family, and yes, they've been around for a long time, and they've known each other for a long time. But as a viewer, it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, we were so far in at that point, I don't think that they wanted to spend any time having her make amends. But I do agree. They were very quick, like, yeah, come on back. You know, I'm like, really? Yeah. You know, like, why don't you spend some time in Siberia or something? How about an oil rig in Alaska? What were you going to say, Elena?
I want to see, like, kind of how I was saying, like, I'd like to see a little bit more. Like, I want to see more. We got to see some of Sprite and Cersei's relationship kind of at the beginning. I would have liked to see more of that, of them, like, being really good friends, and seeing maybe Cersei see when she turns herself into the adult, and then, you know, the hand goes through at the bar, and like how hurt Sprite is. Like, I would love to have seen some of those moments, just like I want to see more Gilgamesh and Thena. Like, I'm like, I could watch a whole separate thing of just what they were doing while they were, you know.
Yeah, he spent, you know, a few thousand years just kind of babysitting her, you know.
Yeah,
and
I'm like, I even want to see his like vacation in Thailand. Like, I'm like, I'm down.
Yeah, they did.
In Fiji.
They did reference that. Let's talk about, we will go through all the Eternals here. Barry Keoghan, I think is how you say his name, Druig, who you know, people, he was in the Christopher Nolan movie, and I'm blanking on it now. Dunkirk. It was like, I'm like,
Harry Styles. That's all I get. I'm like,
yeah, no, and I'm like, oh, I need the history in here. Just a world history brain fart there. He was from Dunkirk, and I thought it was interesting too to you know, tell the story of the guy who could really change. You know, he could, if he wanted to, he could control all of humanity and have them live a righteous life. You know, and put down their arms, and why can't we all just get along? Druid could have made that happen. And I think that this movie asks interesting questions about superpowered beings who can live forever. And at a certain point, it's like, oh, but why do I have to let them fight? What did you think of Druid, Elena?
You know, I really like Druig because he is such a complicated character that, you know, like we even have when Kamal's like, oh man, Druig sucks, like, which is hilarious. But at the same, you know, it's like at the same time, it's like, okay, he is doing the wrong thing, but with the best of intentions. So it is kind of hard. The weird thing to me that was him and Makari, like when they were like, I was with them when they were like, oh, I hate it. Like I was like, she's too good for him. But she's so sweet. She definitely is. D-bag. Yeah. Like I'm like, I don't know. It was a very like Keely Roy Kit type vibe that I was getting. Ted Lasso reference. But yeah, I like the whole like, you know, bubbly, happy, sweet girlfriend, and then like moody, like I'm Druid. That was spot on, by the way, impersonation.
Yeah. Oh no, I nailed it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, in that situation, I don't know what I would do either. When they're like, okay, you're not allowed to interfere at all unless it's something to do specifically with what you're saying. Like, I mean, that would be difficult, especially if you're somebody like we're seeing all these characters do have an emotional connection to humans, and Druid does to, you know, just humanity overall. So that's got to be painful knowing that you could save people and you have to just watch them kill each other.
Yeah. And I want to know, Jeff, your thoughts on Druid, but then also this sort of same idea, you know, you're asking difficult questions about Druid and Sprite, and you know that's sort of what separates this movie, and it has the time, even though there's so many characters, to bring it next level. You know, I'm just kind of wondering your thoughts on the dilemma facing Druid throughout thousands and thousands of years.
This is the thing that I feel like people might call it too dense for, or may throw them off from other Marvel movies, but I love it about that because they're asking serious questions. They're asking tough questions that we can walk away with and think about on our own. We're not watching a popcorn film that's watching Spider-Man face some 3D cameras and it's really Mysterio, and you're walking away just thinking, okay, that was cool action. You walk away thinking, is humanity worth it? Like, are we worth it? Should we be? There's things that we should be taking with us, things that are actually hard decisions that they're facing in the film. But in Druig's case, and like in the film, not only is his like power to control people's emotions, I wonder if he's able to like feel people's emotions and read it and kind of get it back and like receive it in a sense. Because if he's around these people, seeing the fighting, seeing the Holocaust, seeing all these bad events that happen, seeing 9/11, seeing everything, you're feeling a lot of bad emotions. You're seeing a lot of bad emotions. And if you know you can kind of change that in any way possible, that's torture in and of itself. So I don't feel he's doing anything wrong. He's being tortured in a sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's when you think about when you have that kind of power, as the Marvel universe is built on this notion that with great power comes great responsibility. But when you're essentially programmed to ignore the responsibility that comes with it and just focus on this really kind of menial task, you just really need to babysit the deviants. I think it really gives you a lot to think about, and I like to think that humanity is worth it. But look, we have times where it's proven otherwise. I do want to talk about Makari for a moment, who is obviously not given as much screen time as some of the other characters. Lauren Ridloff is that actress's name. I think she's great, and I love the fact that they hire someone who speaks the one language that she can learn, which is sign language. And I think it's great that obviously everybody knows how to interact with her, and I think that she's a great part of it, and a great power set too. I mean, I don't know. I think that anytime you have somebody with Quicksilver or Flash speed, it's always kind of cool to watch. What did you think of Makari, Jeff?
I enjoyed her, and sorry, I got distracted. Not gonna lie,
That's all right. We're just talking about Makari in general, though.
You want me to chit chat and then come back to you?
Because
I got some things to say about Makari and Druig.
Yes, because
that's fine. Yeah, we go.
Because I'll jump in because I know I love the fighting style, but I don't know exactly the answer.
I do know that you got distracted, Jeff, because I said the Flash, and everybody knows that that's your one true love.
Yes, but I mean,
as the chat so often reminds you that it's like, yeah, but he likes the Flash. So
they're not wrong. I mean, but like, I think one of the first things I told you when we left the film, or we left the movie, is that like that her fighting scenes were what stood out in the film for me. Yeah. Like, I thought that was next level for anything we've seen in Marvel. I love her. I loved like that whole fighting scene with her and Icarus. It just seemed really dope for me. And then her character in general, the fact that she was deaf, so like we didn't have to learn sign language, but they showed sign language in there. They highlighted it. They showed that it's just a part of people's families. So like they were talking, but everybody knew sign language so they can communicate with her. And they didn't really make it a big deal. They just acknowledged it and moved on. Yeah. I love those parts of the story. And just like there is a gay relationship, just like they're a kid, just like there's Black people, just like there's Asian people. It's a part of the story. Then you move on. It's just a thing, and then you don't really think about it. So I love how that was part of the conversation.
Yeah, right. It wasn't like, and now we have our first deaf character. Can you please pat us on the back for including that as well? What are your thoughts on Makari, Elena?
I think that it is great that we finally have this representation. I think it's going to definitely, impact probably a lot of kids and make them feel like, hey, I can be a superhero too. Here's somebody who's like me, which I love. And I do love that she's so sweet, and that even though it does feel really forced in some ways to have her with Druig, it makes him not like a Kilgrave character, because he kind of has the same power. So having someone like her to be like, I'm really sweet, I ground you, like it makes his character seem like more likable than because you're like, oh, well, I like Makari so much, so if she likes him, he's got to be good, right? So I thought that was kind of a smart way to kind of do that, to take one character that could kind of go either way and then have a character that you just unequivocally love kind of with them to highlight why you should like that character too, even if others don't.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that I think it is important. And it's funny because until you said that, I didn't even think about the fact that Druig has essentially the same power set as Purple Man, aka Kilgrave, and just it's a reminder of how dangerous that kind of power can be. And we've talked sort of in passing about Thien and Ajak in that they are a little bit more incidental than I think the movie poster makes them seem. But I do want to talk about
front row sitter.
Yeah, I know. I do want to talk about Icarus for really only a moment. Richard Madden, I think, portraying Icarus. I do think it's very funny when Phastos' son refers to him as Superman. And, you don't get a lot of that in the MCU where people are referring to Superman. And I think Batman might have been mentioned once. It's just funny that it's like, oh, yeah, they have those characters too. But obviously they're pretend, which I think is kind of funny. He, I think, is an important part of the movie. And you need somebody to be in this opposition that is sort of for the big reveal, which I think we'll talk about in a moment. But man, that guy is stiff and boring as hell. And I was very difficult in being excited for that character. I would forget about him when I would think back on the movie. And I'm like, he's actually kind of a super important. Icarus and Cersei are the two main Eternals. Like they're the ones that you usually see on the covers. I mean, Icarus has like a Dutch boy, like blonde haircut, but still, I mean, he's the main one. And so I don't know. I mean, he's got the Superman power set, but I was very underwhelmed by him. Am I being too harsh, Jeff?
See, I feel like you are. I really enjoyed his character. I mean, compared to any Superman I've ever seen, he had the most personality. I mean, DC is rocking with some smart like they say like 3 words in the whole movie. But like I really enjoyed his character. I thought I was totally I mean, like I told you guys, I came in not knowing too much about the backstory. So him being the twist and him like kind of working against the Eternals, I was thrown off by that whole twist, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it brought a whole different dynamic to the film, and it kind of made his character more I mean, just gave him more layers, because like in a sense he was almost too perfect. He had all the great powers. He did all the like the superhero stance, didn't say too much. He didn't have any comedy with him. So like that's why he was kind of the stiff stoic guy. But like once you saw the evilness to him, and he could have dove into it a little bit more, don't get me wrong, but like you saw the evilness and no, I'm gonna do this because this is what we're supposed to do. And almost in the same vein as I can't think of her name, but head timekeeper, when we were thinking of Loki, she was like, this is what we're supposed to do, this is what the timekeepers are saying, and this is what we need to do, in the same vein as that. So like it was cool to see. I like his character.
Yeah, I think his character has a great story point, and his role in, again, the opposition, I think is a surprise, and I think it's well done. I just, lack. There was not a lot of heat coming off the screen for me personally. Elena, do you agree with Jeff?
Which is ironic because it's ironic there wasn't heat coming off the screen since he flies into the sun.
Well, and considering that he looks like that, I mean, a guy who looks like that, there should be some heat oozing off of the screen. He's a good looking fella, but
it was this. I'm with you actually, Christian, because I felt like, I don't think that he necessarily, like, it was trying to show like he isn't.
Well, Elena agrees with me, so now she goes up here. Anyway, go ahead.
But he's not like inherently evil, because we even see that with Ajak. Like he's heartbroken. Like we see like the whole like the boys laser moment too, where he's just like, I'm angry, laser eyes. Like, but he's heartbroken because he feels like he's obligated to do this, and that the person that he was looking towards to lead has now failed them. So now he has to take on the burden, because we even see later when he's like, oh, Cersei, like, why did you choose Cersei? It's like a whole I don't know. I feel like to make us really, really like Dane, who Black Knight maybe later on.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that for sure.
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna really be rooting for Cersei and him, but you see like she has thousands and thousands of years of history with Icarus, it's like, yeah, you kind of want to make him a little bit unlikable, or you're gonna be like, oh, she should have been with her ex, like
Yeah.
it needs to be like, even when he's turned, it's not a full heartbreak moment for her. Like, obviously it stings, but she already has someone else who actually treats her well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jeff, you've got about 10 more minutes, so I do want to move on to a couple of different things. Let's spend a couple minutes on the actual plot. I mean, this movie is there's so much to it. It's a lot of setup, it's like the last 40 minutes are really, or, like 30 of the last 40 minutes are when everything actually happens. But this reveal, I was legitimately surprised, this idea that they're not really the good guys because they're there to basically harvest the earth and all of its inhabitants for food for the Celestials. And, then the idea of like, oh, this is part of the greater good because, Celestial means more life around the world. I found that to be legitimately surprising. And I think on that level, you don't get a lot of big surprises in these kind of superhero movies. Not on that level, where it's like, oh, actually these characters, they mean well, but their mission is not a particularly good one. I mean, it's there's like a, it happens, there's sometimes the Jennifer Garner show that J.J. Abrams did, Alias, there's like a big reveal, like that it's like, this is actually, actually you're not one of the good guys. It doesn't happen that much, and I think that it was really well executed, and it was a legitimate surprise that that's where these characters were. What did you think about it, just in general, Jeff?
Yeah, I thought it was a big surprise as well. But then also I thought about like, where in the HEW hockey sticks is the rest of the world at? What are they thinking? Samuel L. Jackson used to be on top of his stuff. So if a whole ice human pops out of the water with like multiple eyes and stuff, and like it just seems so like, how is no one noticing? Because we just came back from the snap, like they're fighting the world's ending and stuff, and no one knows that their Earth's about to explode. It just seemed like
Doctor Strange doesn't even look up from his book. He's like, wait, is something?
He's busy with other stuff.
Yeah, no, I know he's busy. He's busy with Wanda and Peter, and I get it.
He's like, all of our kids are all messing up out here.
In all honesty, they might address that too. They might be like, there's something going on here. Oh my god, I got taken away, or something.
We saw the like news report or whatever about like the hand thing. So the rest of the world is aware that it happened. They're just like, we don't know why. It's very weird.
So, I mean, yeah, it has to be spoken about in Doctor Strange. Yeah. At the very, I mean, even Spider-Man, because they have so much stuff in the news. The news is going to be a big part of their movie. So, like, I mean, we'll see.
I don't understand too. Like, I was like, holy crap! So really, Thanos, in essence, saved the Earth because because they said it would have to grow to the next population. Like,
so half the population was gone. So he bought us 5 years. Yeah. So thanks. Thanos, question mark, I guess.
It's like, Thanos maybe was the good guy.
Yeah. Well, Alana, I want you to jump in on the same point, and then we'll before Jeff leaves, we'll talk about the post-credit scenes. But this reveal that and look, in the case of Icarus, he's definitely not a good guy in this movie. I think he'll have an opportunity to be one in the future, but he's like, no, I'm just letting you. I'm just sort of keeping you guys at a safe distance, and then I'm going to kill you all if I have to.
I mean, he did. He flew too close to the sun, man. Yeah. He saw it literally and figuratively.
It's true.
What is it when he flies into the sun? Like, I'm like, is this the end of Icarus?
See, I just assumed y'all knew, and I wasn't gonna be the one to ask that question because, like, I'm like, wait, so are you killing yourself, or do you know something I don't know? Like,
no, I mean, maybe that was his attempt, but I'm gonna assume that he's not killing himself. But I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's like we already lost 2 Eternals. We can't keep.
Yeah. Well, losing to Eternals, then we get to the credits scene. And again, we're talking all the spoilers. We've been talking about them, so you shouldn't be surprised at this point. We get back to Eternals, and it was something that wasn't inadvertently spoiled. And when people go back and watch that episode now, I did take that part out. But our pal Michael did mention it because it was in the news that Harry Styles is in the movie. The part that killed me, I look, honestly, I wouldn't have recognized that as being Harry Styles. I've seen him. But I did not. I can tell you that I would not have seen that face and been like, "That's Harry Styles." So in that way, it was helpful. But when I found out he was playing Eros, who is Star Fox, who was one of my favorite Avengers when I was reading the comics, he's a great character. So I was like, "Oh now I know that."
They brought in a Foxy Star to be Star Fox, man.
I know, because and look at him.
You got to do it.
So tell us your thoughts though on seeing Harry Styles as a character that obviously you don't have the attachment to, but the idea that the next time we see the Eternals, Harry Styles is going to be in there as one of their Eternals as Star Fox. Jeff.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of his like movies outside of his what's I was about to say One Direction, right?
One Direction,
no. Yeah, One Direction, Harry.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, outside of his,
like you don't have a tattoo that says 1D somewhere
right here, baby.
Right there.
My One Direction. I know, but outside of his One Direction career, I've seen like only a few movies, and he did well. So I'm excited. Like you said, when I saw him, I didn't think, oh wait, Harry Styles is on the screen. I thought he played the character well. I thought it was just funny, quirky, and it's someone new. So like as long as you don't pull away from the MCU and we don't think, oh wait, Harry Styles is on whatever Earth or whatever world or whatever movie we're in, I'm cool with it. If he can add
they are
a new
going to have
cool
a Star
version
Fox
of it.
concert. So the Star Fox
good.
concert, I think, will.
He's going to do all of his solo stuff after he broke up from the Eternals. Yeah,
it's going to be called Star Direction instead of One Direction.
Yes.
Well, Elena, I'll ask you about the credit sequences together because Jeff only has a couple more minutes. So, Jeff, let's get your thoughts on the second credit sequence, which for me is the one that I am actually more glad wasn't spoiled for me, because even when it starts, I thought I knew what that scene was going to be. And yes, his character's name is Dane Whitman. Dane Whitman is the Black Knight. It is not a huge secret. That is another Avenger from the era that I read the Avengers. Star Fox and Black Knight were on the team. Every month they were in there, along with Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. I love those Avengers. So I was very excited to see him at some point. But then we get that voice. Basically, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And it's that voice that was my like, oh, shit, really? So your thoughts, Jeff?
Look, you guys are the ones that had to tell me who the voice was, because I had no clue. Okay. I just was pumped about the whole thing that was happening. I knew that that coming in that he was going to be the Black Knight, and I kind of thought it was public knowledge because like on IMDb, on other places, it told me who his character name was. Yeah. So I did my research.
Dane Whitman, parentheses, the Black Knight. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, so like he's casted. And then like I looked at it, and so to see like the kind of thing that they do at the end, it was fun to watch. And if it's Blade like you guys say it is,
yeah, I mean,
if it's Mahershala, that would be
Mahershala Ali's voice. And
that's amazing.
The idea that character would be tied together with Blade, I'm just like, wait, what? Okay, I did not expect that. Like even a little. Like I don't know. You could give me 7,000 years to try and come up with different takes on how to plan this universe, and I wouldn't come up with that. Well, Jeff, I know we have to let you go, and Elena and I will revisit those topics, and then we'll talk a little bit about the reaction before we go to the reaction of the movie. But Jeff, if people want to keep in touch with you, how do they do that?
Appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys always holding it down for us, and I will talk to you guys soon. But yeah, if you want to continue the conversation with me, you can meet me at Jeff Will Jr. on all your social media platforms, and I can't wait to talk more Eternals. We have more to talk about. And since I'm not joining physically talking, I'll just have to listen in and hear what you guys thought for the last part.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, and we will talk to you soon. So Elena, we have
awesome.
these two credit scenes. So let's talk first about Star Fox. And that was something that I guess had not been spoiled for you. The actor
That was
who is
spoiled. That
oh,
was
you did know
spoiled for
you
me.
did know.
That's why
Okay.
I was livid. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was so
and,
mad
and look,
because
it's not some dumb website that spoiled it. And
it's
look, there's a lot of good.
Variety.
It was Variety, and that's
It was
why it was
actually
infuriating.
it
Yeah,
wasn't Variety. It was specifically one reporter from
yeah,
Variety who put it on his Twitter like an idiot, and then
yeah,
every other outlet picked it up and then put like, "Here's the big news" with a picture of Harry Styles, and I was like, "Oh my
yeah,
god, you guys suck." But
yeah,
I did hear that Disney said we're taking note, like they're jotting down who
yeah.
reposted it, and I'm like, "Boo!" I
Yeah,
think I heard that
and
from
I
you.
hope they do. And then it's like, and maybe they'll talk to their friends at Sony. It's like, oh, you think you're going to see Spider-Man No Way Home? We cannot have you spoiling that. So no, Variety, you'll have to go watch it the Thursday 6 p.m. screening. Yeah, and I think it's great, and I'm excited to see that character. And look, I love Patton Oswalt, but
I disagree. Yeah,
I,
I'm like, I love Patton Oswalt,
I
but
like his voice. No, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is I love him in general. I like his voice. I think he's a great voice actor. I think he's very funny. He was great on Agents of Shield, but I'm just like, oh, really? Okay.
he's so
He's
recognizable. Like
he's
I
the
don't
little
even
troll.
I think all I see is like, okay, well, there's CGI Patton Oswalt. Like it takes me
Yeah,
out of it completely. It
yeah,
makes me like not even like the character to me seems like even though the CGI on it is really good, to me,
yes,
I'm like, oh, it just seems so fake because it's not Patton Oswalt, and I know that's Patton Oswalt's voice. So yeah, I wasn't huge on that. I didn't even think though that Barry Keoghan and Harry Styles had worked together on Dunkirk.
Oh, on Dunkirk. Yeah, of course. You know,
Yeah,
it's
and I
funny
didn't
until you
even
said
think
that.
about
Until you
that.
said that, I didn't even remember. Jeff was talking
Yeah.
about Jeff was talking about seeing him in other stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, have I ever seen him in anything? And it's like, yeah, dummy, you saw them in the same movie.
With them
You saw,
together, which I thought was
yeah,
that the reason that I know that is it filmed on the Universal lot and we had an NDA and we thought it was because like Christopher Nolan, oh, everybody's gonna be it was because all these teenage girls were trying to like run onto the beach of Normandy to see Harry Styles in the shot. I was like, that's sad.
Ye-
But yeah, I'm excited to see what he does with it. I mean, I think he is a really good actor, personal
yeah,
things aside.
yeah. No, I mean, I think, and look, I think for that sort of, that character to be just sort of this ultimate sort of like ladies man, this like almost like this god of love essentially. I think that's tremendous casting. I think it's going to be fun, and we can really explore the fact that he is Thanos's brother, and just kind of deal with a little of that, and sure, you were on mission, but this dude's your brother. Like, you probably could have tried to stop him at some point,
Yeah. I feel
you
like
know.
too, Star Fox is kind of bringing in the energy that Star Lord originally had. That like now is like people are kind of getting over Chris Pratt. So I feel like this was good timing too to like
Wow, it's
bring
like,
in.
it's like, I love Chris Pratt. I think he's great, but
He's in
now
everything
he's
now
Garfield and Mario. I mean,
at
like,
the same time. It really
yeah,
bothered
like,
me too when he was like, Mario isn't Italian anymore. He's normal now. As a half Italian, I'm like,
yeah, like
okay.
what a weird thing to say,
Like,
It's
cool. My dad's not normal.
yeah, yeah, I don't know, but
But
and
yeah,
then, well, then
I'm excited to
let's
see more
talk.
from Star Fox.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that. And I think it's going to be a while before we see the Eternals again. There's so much other stuff going on. I mean, it's probably a good 3 years before we get to that because, now that we talked recently about how the slate, the phase 4 slate has moved a few months, everything. It's like the idea of getting more Eternals is pretty far off,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I want to know what the
let's,
untitled one that got nixed was. The
the,
untitled Marvel movie that they pulled completely. There was one they pushed, then one
yeah,
that
the standalone Star Fox story is probably what it was.
that's what it was.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was.
It was the
All right, well then,
fantastic Mr. Star Fox.
yeah, and like, I love that. And then let's talk about the other scene. So Dane Whitman on the verge of becoming the Black Knight. Blade warns him. What did you think about that scene? That was mind blowing for me.
That was the one. Yeah, that's what blew my mind. Like, I'm with you too. The Harry Styles thing got spoiled for me, and I'm pissed about it. But I'm less pissed about that than I would have been if somebody had spoiled, like, oh, like this is all
Yeah,
gonna
because
like
it's a major
tie in where
story
you weren't
thing,
expecting it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I would have been more
So
pissed. And again, and this is a spoiler for Shang-Chi. The knowing that Bruce and Carol were at the end of it. I'm glad that didn't get spoiled for me because that was a really cool, like a reveal moment, where I
that
wasn't
would have made
expecting it.
me real upset.
Yeah, right,
That would
exactly.
have if
So
if that one had been spoiled, I'm like, why do and also the people who leave. Like we had it in our
oh yeah.
screening. This is a like
People
press screening. Why are you leaving when the credit? Like
yeah.
what? Is this your
Like
first Marvel movie?
that I literally said that. It's
That
like
yeah,
it's like
aloud. I was like, sit back down.
like there's gonna be more, and it's like, but it's like, yeah, I've already seen one. I don't need to see both of those scenes, do I?
They're like, Variety
So
already spoiled it. It's fine.
yeah, I mean, but they
Yeah,
stayed for the one that Variety did spoil. By the way, which that was the funny thing about the screening that we were at, is that the only time that the people working there that are basically like the ushers slash bouncer security guards, the only time that they watched us was during the post credit scenes. They're like, you ain't spoiling none of the rest of this stuff, but it was funny the way that they watched us there. So look,
like
very
a hawk
excited to
to make
see
sure
where
nobody
these.
filmed it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Very excited to see where these stories go and, what's next and all of that. But before we go, I want to kind of spend a moment. We talked a little bit about it with the review bombing. And again, once the movie comes out and people have actually seen it, if you don't like it, you don't like it. I mean, nobody needs to like something they don't like. And, look, if somebody is a person where they're uncomfortable because they see two dudes like kiss for what 1/8 of a second, okay, well, if that bothers you, you can write that I saw it and it made me uncomfortable. That's who you are. But just the idea that something in here happens that I don't think I'm gonna like, so great, well, here's what you could do: just don't go see the movie. That's fine. If that's something that's in the movie and you don't want to see it, don't go see it. It's like, what, why do you need to go in there and be like, well, I want this to be the lowest rated Marvel movie ever? And by the way, they still don't have an audience score, so you don't know if you're going to succeed. Critics probably don't love it because it's so long. Anyway, I wanted to take a moment though, because we touched on it, Elena, this idea that the reaction to it is fairly divisive, more so than, I don't know. I mean, I could probably think of another one, but I don't remember it being, just people so far apart in their opinions on this specific Marvel movie.
This one, yeah, people either really loved it or really hated it, it seemed, which to me was I still think it's weird because I'm like, I don't understand the people who are like, it's too dense, it's too dense. I'm like, you're too dense. This movie is brilliant. Like, I don't understand why people like don't like it. Like, they're like, it's too many sets, it's too many locations, it's too many time periods, too many characters. All of it is fleshed out like in a very logical, easy, consumable way. So I don't understand all the hate on this. And I really don't understand like the anti-LGBTQIA stance on it when it is not like there's not a gay sex scene in it. It's just like two guys who love each other, quick peck, and then like talking about how they love their kids. So I think if people who said they didn't like it because the thought of it, if they actually saw it, probably wouldn't have that big of a problem with it. But it's like anything, like it's like when we the women's march years ago when everybody was knitting like the pussy caps that are like the hats that are
the pink,
like they're cat ears. Yeah, they're pink cat ears. And the people are like, oh, these people are wearing vaginas on their head. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
You
to be
heard
fair,
something,
most of the
misinterpreted it.
people, but to be fair, most of the people who said that had never seen one, so they didn't know what it looked like, So that made it difficult. I think. Yeah, but no, and it's just like I have friends who like casually like superhero movies and they see most of them, but they're not as into it, and they're like, I'm hearing bad things about that, and they're saying that like like I'm the only person they know that liked it. I'm like, well, I don't know who you know then, because in general, like we all saw it together. And we, our pal Roxy saw it, Roxy Stryer, who I believe will be on an upcoming episode talking about this. So it'd be very exciting to have Roxy on. She was unable to join us today, but hopefully we can have her on with us sometime soon. She liked it, and then it's just, look, critics don't like superhero movies. Some critics just don't like them, period. And then others are just tired. There's, like we said, this is the 25th movie.
Burnout, yeah.
Yeah.
But my thing is, I think a lot of it too is because a lot of the people who reviewed it saw it at the red carpet premiere.
Right.
And honestly, I don't like watching movies at red carpet premieres, because after you do the carpet, you're kind of exhausted. Like your energy is all up, your adrenaline's going, but then like after, I almost never stay. I almost go to a later screening because I know I'm not going to enjoy it as much, because I'm not in the mindset of like, let me sit and watch a 2.5-hour movie right now, when it's like, oh, my adrenaline's up and now it's like falling. That's when people normally go and do like the after parties and stuff. So I feel like a lot of the press screenings kind of depend too on when you see it, and if you're mentally and emotionally prepared to go sit for almost 3 hours to watch a movie like this,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the way to see it is, if you're lucky enough to go to a press screening, you can see it the way that Alana, Jeff, and I did, and go attend a fun press screening, which we were able to do. And, I've shared the photo in an awkward way where it's not actually showing us, but here we are right beforehand.
Yeah.
And what we learned, though, is that if we hadn't gone to Shake Shack ahead of time, we might have actually been able to go to the fancier theater and see it in IMAX.
That's never happened before, though. Like for both of us, this is the very first screening that's ever been the case. So
yeah,
I don't blame us. And my shake was delicious. I regret nothing.
And my shack was delicious as well.
Yeah.
In any case, I think that it was look, I agree with you. It's I think that seeing these things, and it's like going to a press screening. It's not like seeing it with a regular audience, but you are seeing it with an audience who's seeing it for the first time. It's not people who worked on it for the most part. So I think that is a fun way to see it. And a lot of times I usually end up seeing these movies again. I'll go with my wife and see it a second time. And sometimes in some occasions I've even seen them 3 times, it just depends on what the movie was. So I'm excited if people are watching this now, that means that they've already seen it. But I'm excited to be at this moment in time where we can start to hear from people who do love the Marvel movies. And maybe not every one of them is their favorite, but in general, these are people who are predisposed to like it. And I can't wait to be able to talk to our audience and just people on social media about this movie and what they liked about it. So it's exciting to have it out. And then before you know it, we are going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. But Alana, thank you for joining me at the movie, but also for sharing your thoughts with our audience here on Marvel Movie Talk. If people want to keep in touch with you, how do they do that?
Thank you so much for having me. I always love getting to chat with you. If anybody wants to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Alana Jordan, Alana Jordan. Everybody spells it wrong, so and on Instagram at Alana J Jordan. And starting tonight, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch regularly. Actually, I'm going to talk to you later about that because I want you to come be on a show.
All right. I have appeared on Twitch before, so I would be happy to.
Get all twitchy.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
Get all twitchy. Which I hope is what your show is called, All Twitchy.
Yes, get all twitchy.
Yes, thank you.
Twitch.tv/Alana Jordan. It's all my name. Boring.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it. And I appreciate you taking the time, and it's always fun to get a chance to chat with you. And please follow me on social media at Christian DMZ. Join us. There will be more Eternals talk this week At the moment, I'm not sure which day it's going to be, but please check your local listings, as they say, but really just I'll tweet out when we'll have another episode. I'm going to look forward to hopefully having Roxy Stryer on, and then we have some other friends who will have seen the movie that we want to talk to. So we'll mix it up. And then before you know it, we'll be back next week because Hit Monkey is going to premiere on Hulu, and it's the content that I don't think anybody asked for, but we're going to check it out and we're going to let you know what we think when we get Hit Monkey. But that's all the time we have for now. As the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!
Excelsior!